This episode of the Disruption Lab is filmed in front of a live studio audience. Mayor Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Watson, you have stepped into this role in a moment where trust in our institutions is fragile. What personally motivated you to say yes to leading Kansas City, Kansas right now?
Because I believe in trust. I think you would have to be in order to do it, first of all. I'm probably one of the most high-spirited, energetic people you'll ever meet. And at the end of the day, I just believe in our community. And I believe in myself. And I know that I know a lot of talented people that can help change the culture and the distrust that we have across all sectors.
So, Kansas City, Kansas, and I know you know this, Kansas City, Kansas has such a rich history and legacy and has demonstrated resilience over time, like very few communities. How do you honor that legacy as a leader and still push for change, some of the change that's required right now?
Well, first, by just being true to myself, right? And I think you have to approach this in a very optimistic way and be able to demonstrate that optimism and be able to build relationships. And I think because I have, can I just be real? Because I
Please.
know that I can do that,
Right,
then why not?
right.
And when you can walk into a room and feel confident about that, it changes things. It changes the mood, it changes the climate, and people, I don't know, I feel like people let their defenses down a little bit, and it just allows for some real genuineness that I think sometimes is missing, when we're trying to get work done, because everyone's trying to, I don't know, put on their airs, or they're already shielded because of past bitterness or past hurt, or you did this to me, you did that to me. I am walking in this with no agenda, no baggage, not taking anything personal. Let's just move forward.
What does the history of Kansas City, Kansas mean to you? Like when you think about the history of the region, the history of the city over time?
I think there's so much rich history with KCK. I think we are underestimated, and we have been treated like a stepchild, for the past several decades.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I think that we have somewhat of an imposter syndrome, where we don't really know how to, demonstrate our greatest strengths. Well, I don't have that problem demonstrating my strengths, and I want to be able to do that for Wyandotte County. And so because there's such rich history there, I want to be able to market it and show it off and make sure that I'm representing who we are in a way that people will respect and will be attracted to.
So speaking of representing, I think it would be remiss of me not to recognize that we are in Women's History Month right now, and
Woo-hoo!
You have already made
Power
history.
to the women.
What is it? Yeah. What does it mean to you? And are you going to? Do you look at leadership now as the first Black female leader of Kansas City, Kansas, of Wyandotte County? Do you look at your role any differently because you are a woman? And if there are any things that you look at leading differently because of who you are and what your background is, what are those things?
No, I do not. I don't look at it differently. If I get hung up on I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, I think they can present themselves as barriers, silent barriers that we kind of put up. And I can't allow that to stop me from doing the work that I know I can do. And so, but I do believe that it gives me an advantage because women have certain skill sets and are a lot more relational than men are. Not to say that y'all can't be relational, but I just think that we come with a different dynamic that can put people at ease sometimes and I don't know, we're just built differently. And so when we approach things differently than men do, there are some positive benefits to it.
I know this isn't your first chapter in government,
Right.
but what do you think would surprise the average citizen about how government operates, now that you're inside, like what you see from the inside?
I think what would surprise your average resident is how complicated things really are. I think people see things as either black or white, and it's not that way at all. And I don't care what it is.
Right.
There's always some layers in between that people just don't realize. And, in trying to explain that can be even complicated. So breaking down information in a way that people can understand when there are so many layers, it can be tricky because you don't want to mislead people with information at the end of the day. But what I have found is that if you just be honest about, listen, this is where we're at, and make it very plain in that way, you don't have to describe the complication of it. Just let them know that, listen, this is not as easy as it looks. Let me tell you why. But this is how we're going to move forward. And if we can do it, we can. If we can't, we'll let you know. And we'll tell you why we weren't able to.
Is the system complicated by the structure, maybe specifically to the unified government?
It is. It is. I think we have made things so much more complicated than what they need to be. Like I was in the office today and I had to sign off on some items that need to go before one of the standing committees. And it was something that was part of a development agreement. And that part of this development agreement would be that there would be this subcommittee, and this committee would be made up of the mayor and two of the chairs of two standing committees. And then the standing committees, need to go ahead and vote, as each one has to vote on who the chair of that particular standing committee is going to add to the subcommittee. And I'm like, can they just appoint somebody like they do any other board, and then we put it on the full commission on the consent agenda?
Yeah, we used to do this on the playground, right? Just pick.
Pick one. Like, why do we have to go through all these formalities just to appoint somebody? So, not to say that's a negative thing, but we just make things so much more complicated than what they need to be.
What do you think people underestimate about this job?
They underestimate, that's a good question. Because I always get, I know you're so busy. Oh, you're drinking out of a fire hydrant, aren't you? I don't want to bother you because I know you get, so many phone calls. So I know people know that we take a lot of time. I know people know that it can weigh heavy on you having the responsibility. So I don't think people underestimate that. I do believe that people underestimate we are human. I do. That we are human, that we hurt, that you can say things that, I may not go to bed that night thinking about what you said. Whether it was a personal attack or whether it was just something you think we failed to do or not do. I think people forget we're human, and that, I don't know, you say, they have that saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, words do hurt.
Mm-hmm. And
you see that very evident on social media. And so sometimes I have to remind people, look, I don't want my taxes raised just like you don't. I live here too. I got kids. I got to pay bills. What makes you think I don't? Just because I'm a politician? Right? So I think people underestimate we're human, we're people, just like they are, and we care just like they do.
It was years, I can't even remember how long ago it was, maybe 12, 15 years ago. I remember listening to a mayor talk about this being the most difficult political job because there is no session, there is no out of session. It is 24/7, 365, and so on. What's that feeling like? Is that pressure? Is that a different level of accountability than you've had maybe in previous roles that you know?
No. So I'm on all the time, and so I don't know what it's like to be off. first of all. I think what is challenging about it most is the quality time that I need to divide out for my family. And that's been the hardest thing for me because I'm kind of a people pleaser. And so establishing boundaries and not feeling a certain way because I didn't meet the need of somebody that really wanted, something from me, sometimes really, it gets to me. But I've heard people say over and over, you have to take care of yourself first. If you don't, how can you take care of the community? So learning to balance that quality time, not only for me, but for my family, for my husband, because right now we're empty nesters. I used to tell my husband, dude, you better get a life.
Yeah.
Because one day I'm not going, I see myself doing more in the community because it's just what drives me every day. What are you gonna do, right? And so here we are, and he's at home, and I'm not,
Yeah.
But I care about him, and I want to spend. I'm in it for good. It's 38 years in October for us.
Congratulations.
So I think that is yes. So that is the biggest thing, and I think people also underestimate that we do have families,
Right.
right? And that we need to have that time, right? But the rest of it comes with the territory. And I already know, I already have the mindset, girl, this ain't your life no more.
Right.
I can't begin to tell you, people say, well, you're not Christal Watson no more, you the mayor. And so when anybody ever comes to me and says, hi, Christal, oh, I forgot, you're the mayor. I'm like, it's refreshing because thank God you remember I'm still Christal.
I struggled with it. I've known you for a while. I struggled with it in this conversation. Is it Mayor Watson? Can I call her Christal?
Yeah, you can call me
all right,
Christal,
cool,
Kevin, because we know each
Cool,
other.
cool. So,
And I don't get hung up on titles. I know you will still respect the office.
absolutely.
Because you respected me when I was Christal.
Absolutely.
I still am, by the way. Still Christal.
So you brought up being an empty nester. Here's the important question. Off the payroll too, or just out of the house?
Are we ever off the payroll?
No, all right. Yeah, I'm trying to get mine.
My son is getting married in April, and don't think we ain't putting no money towards that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the last one off the payroll, and it's just a struggle.
But you know what?
So-
I will say not as much.
Yeah,
Not as much.
yeah, part-time now, not full-time.
Yeah, not full-time.
Fantastic. I want to switch over a little bit and talk about business and entrepreneurship, right? So topics that are important to us here at Keystone, important to the community at large. So cities oftentimes talk about the importance of entrepreneurship, the importance of small business, but the systems that the cities have sometimes don't necessarily support that. Where do you see the biggest connect between how the city views small business and entrepreneurship and how maybe small business and entrepreneurs see that?
So I do believe that cities do take into consideration small business, and they know that small business is really the heartbeat of any community. I think where we fail small business is we don't allow or we don't prioritize the resources needed within the system to support small business. Just had this conversation in the grocery store yesterday. Ran into one of the employees that work at UG, and we talked about small business, but the department that needs to office it doesn't have employees to support it,
That's a
or they
problem.
don't have enough.
Right.
And that was a wake-up call to me. If we're going to say we support small business, then we need to start by being very intentional about having the resources in-house to do it.
One of the things we talk about is, from our perspective, entrepreneurship is like infrastructure, like roads. We don't debate necessarily, do we need roads, do we need physical infrastructure, but we oftentimes don't think about the infrastructure to support
Right,
entrepreneurship.
especially if you got a storefront.
Right. I'm curious, when you make decisions, and this isn't specifically how you prioritize the things, but I want to talk about your decision-making process. When you're deciding kind of which economic development bets are worth taking resources, especially when they're limited. Like I think we've all read about some of the resource limitations for the unified government right now. How do you think about that prioritization? How do you think about that decision-making process when you're trying to figure out where to make the bets?
Well, it starts with the commissioners because they are part of the decision makers and they approve the budget, right? And so when you think about the resources needed within any department of a local municipality, you have to consider, are there enough resources within those departments to provide or to demonstrate that service deliverable that's needed? So the first step is, where are the commissioners in this, and are we going to be on the same page when the final decisions need to be made? Secondly, in that process is, are we on the same page? And so if we're not, then what am I going to do to help us get there? I mean, if I want what I want out of it, and it's not so much what I want because it's not about me, but it is about helping them understand the plight of, in this case, small business, and what the obstacles are that they're faced with and how we need to help them so that it adds to the economic growth of our community. When we can help connect the dots, it makes it easier for them to make decisions. Then in that decision making, what does the data tell us? And the data could be small business feedback. It could be just how many small businesses, are we helping, how many small businesses are getting started versus how many we've lost and where they've gone out of the community to how many still exist. And then what are are there any policies that are preventing small businesses from really being successful?
You talk
So
about
I think about all those things when it comes to making a decision.
Sure. You talk about data. How much of leadership at your level do you believe is data-driven versus, I'll just call it gut, versus like...
I think in the past it's been gut. I don't think it's been data. Too much data-driven. And if it has been, we're not asking for the right data. And so for me, it's exploring the right kind of data that we need, because I want every commissioner to be as informed as possible, whether it is word of mouth, whether it is based on my gut because of my experience, or anybody else for that matter. But, what is the true statistical data we can look at to make a well-informed decision? All our decisions, to me, should be data-driven.
We look at I think we've been talking about this now for 5 to 10 years, that we're at this transition from the third industrial revolution to the fourth industrial revolution. I think with the advent of some of the emerging technologies, it's very clear that the economy is in a huge shift right now. Mm-hmm. What do you see as the role of innovation, the innovation economy, high growth startups, innovation districts? What do you see as the role of that in the future of Wyandotte County?
Well, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if Wyandotte County's even thought of it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And maybe it is because of some of the social barriers we face, because we're the unhealthiest county in the state of Kansas. We have one of the lowest average incomes. We have a high population of low-income families. We have up to 400 families who are considered homeless, under the McKinney-Veneto Act. Like I don't think they're really thinking about that. I think that they have blinders with, okay, we just need to focus on these things, and we're not looking at the bigger picture and how the world is growing around us, even when it comes to technology. I mean, I've got a monitor in my office right now. It's 15 years old. And I said, can I get a smart monitor, please? So if we aren't even investing in that kind of technology, right, where we're just holding on to stuff just so we don't have to spend money. Yeah. When that monitor really doesn't, I'm not sitting there watching TV, right. And so, I mean, my IT, I think we're hiring more people within UG that are like-minded in terms of how I am, because I'm like a gadget, technology, AI. I use ChatGPT, and I'm trying to find other AI technology to really help me critically think through things, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a long way to go, but I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think that we're hiring people that are looking at, innovation in a whole different way. We just still got a lot of old school that don't understand.
Where do you see the role of technology in improving citizen engagement, communication, efficiencies in government, cost saving? Like, how do you see the role of technology in your, in the seat you're in now?
Well, I personally want to use it to create a dashboard where we get constituent complaints, and I want to use that dashboard to document what those things are and then be able to post it. So almost like project management tool, but on a much higher level. I want it to be able to connect to the department that it should go to, right? And then they're quickly solving whatever that issue is. That's how I would like to use it. And I'd also like to be able to use it to, I don't know, when it comes to AI, okay, here's what this document says or this policy. What are ways we can improve it? So that it gets me to thinking of, oh yeah, maybe we do. Nah, that wouldn't work, but this would work. Like, I don't know, cutting our time in half so that we're not spending our wheels in a bunch of research, but just using technology to be more efficient and to communicate information in a much better way.
I think we got some startups rolling around the region that could help you out.
I think so too. I think I've seen some.
Yeah.
Like there's I don't know who did it. I saw that one of these, like what you guys do with startups or whatever, and they have this software for like public work stuff. And man, if I could remember that software, because I want to tell, our public works director, dude, there's software out there that can help you with but they may already have it, I don't know. But it's just that kind of thing.
Sure.
That I know is out there and it's evolving every day.
I think the thing I've heard from a lot of startups in this, so we're somewhat of a GovTech hub here in this region. Companies like Payit, companies like Doppler, it might be weird, I've heard that there's friction in procurement where it's easier for them to get business in other municipalities than it is in the region today.
I believe that.
And it's not how we've done it not how we've done it here before. It's kind of the thing I think a lot of them hear. So,
but if you're, if procurement is understaffed, that's what you're gonna get.
Right.
Right. They don't have time to do anything else, right? And they're gonna stick to the same old because it takes a little more work and or capacity they don't have. And that's what we have to change. I've been saying, if you take care of your people, well, people will take care of you, which will leave room for us to be innovative and to explore other opportunities in doing business better. And inviting business where we hadn't invited before. Having key stakeholders that we never thought of bringing to the table, but now we can. We are so busy right now just trying to maintain with little to nothing that it doesn't leave room for them to be creative, to be innovative, to be exploratory, and let alone have the funding to invest in the technology we need to be better.
Technology has the opportunity to create these efficiencies, maybe improve services and engagement and some of these other types of things. There's this balance between the human side and equity-centered engagement with technologies like AI. We talk about AI bias. We talk about some of the things. What are your thoughts around, how do you as a leader on the government side, how do you see that balance and that challenge as you move forward?
It boils down to resource, and I feel like we've boxed ourselves in because we think we need the money. When I was the president and CEO of the Black Chamber, and I would sit back and I would watch, small businesses, come to me, need help, this and that, and I learned through those businesses that if there weren't certain things that you had in place, you weren't going to grow, right? Number one, you better have an attorney. Number 2, you better have an accountant. And number 3, you better have technology. And if you were missing any of those things, you really were missing the secret sauce to your growth and to the sustainability of your company. And while local government has those things in place, the one area that they will cut drastically is the technology. For me, it is a priority because we have to be in time with where technology is if we're going to be efficient. And if our satisfaction survey comes back that we are below in this area or that area, and we know if we would just invest in that, I don't know, $1 million software that'll change it, why are we not making that a priority to do?
Right.
Why is it okay to still plug along and do the best we can, and oh well, folks will get, they get what they get because they need to understand we don't have the money. Well, you do if you prioritize it.
Right.
Even some of our lowest income, I don't care. It cracks me up when I see a homeless person with a cell phone.
Oh, yeah. Walking
is
here
that
all the time
possible?
asking to charge. Can I charge my phone? Can I charge my phone?
Absolutely. So if you can have a cell phone, then you probably could do a lot more than that. Now, I don't know what their situations is, and I'm not, saying that's a bad thing. All I'm saying is whatever you want, you're going to make room for.
Yeah. Technology is not the barrier. Right.
Technology is not the barrier.
Right. Right.
And I think the other thing is that we're not looking at it from a holistic perspective. So you got one department using this software, another department using this technology, another department. Why isn't there this real strategic effort so that it all works together and it's still state of the art?
I want to shift again. Let's talk a little bit about leadership and kind of your personal development, maybe. What has surprised you most about leadership now that you're in this role?
What has surprised me most is people's attitudes, leaders' attitudes.
Say more, yeah.
So the big buzzword right now for me is, oh, you are so refreshing.
You are.
I know I am. But that surprised me because I'm like, okay, I know I am, but why is that a big deal? I am so surprised by how people just don't have, I don't know, I'm not going to say they don't know how to be nice, but just their attitude doesn't have any energy to it or enthusiasm, or they're not walking into a room and instead of just blending in, wanting to be alike, wanting to add some excitement or some energy to the room. I don't for me as a leader, like that's what we should do. And that has surprised me because while I think that I know, and we've all heard it, that one person can make a difference, and that is true, but why? Why can't we all walk in and have that? Can you imagine if everybody walked into the room like I do? Walking in excited, hey, how you doing? Looking them in the eye, shaking their hand, taking time to make a connection. Like, why does it have to be foreign now?
Right. Well, it seems like there's a lot of negative, it's toxicity, right? It just seems like that's the environment, so it's acceptable as a leader to take on that persona.
Yeah. And why are we afraid to be able to stand out to do that? It doesn't put a target on me. Not at all.
Who shaped your leadership, even if they've never held office? Who is it that has really kind of influenced and shaped who you are as a leader today?
I'm going to say that I'm a very strong person of faith. And so my faith and belief in God and Jesus Christ has shaped who I am. If I live by the principles of, love God and then love your neighbor as yourself, then I'm good. And so if I do what Jesus would do, hey, I'm gonna be all right. And that's what shaped who I am. Now, there are people who have influenced me to be a better person. It started with my dad, teaching me to be responsible and own up to what I do and what I don't do. He taught me to be held accountable and not to be afraid of being held accountable. My mom taught me, know your man. And she didn't mean the man you were sleeping with. She meant for every person that you meet them where they are, and don't try to be any more or any less, right? Just meet them where they are and be who you are. And that's the best thing you could ever do. And so I think those three things have really shaped me into the leader I am today. And then as a person, I hate complainers. And so I'm very results driven. And because of that, I want to see results. So for me, when people come to me, everything is a to-do. And it's important to me to complete that to-do. Now, sometimes I fall short, right? But at the end of the day, I've watched good leaders have excellent follow-through just by how they interacted with me. And so that has helped shape that I want to be able to do the same.
How do you you just mentioned it, you get approached with, we need to do this needs to happen, here's the list of to-dos. How do you think of the urgent versus the long-term? Because I'm sure you're faced with both these urgent, important, long-term, strategic kind of decisions and the spectrum of those. How do you make those calls, or how do you
I just lay it out. Okay, if I look at this and then I recognize what's going on in the present, that helps me figure out what's most important and what can wait and what's like literally next year that we can work on. Matter of fact, I just went through that exercise somewhat earlier today because I am obviously inundated with can we meet? But while at the same time, I do want to meet everybody. I ain't gonna lie. I've had 6 to 7 events in one day. And that doesn't faze me. Everybody else thinks it's too much, but I don't know, I just don't want to miss nothing. Like, I never know what I'm gonna get out of a meeting with somebody that I least expect. So, but I can still meet them and then determine how to prioritize it from there. But I always want to give everything the benefit of the doubt and exploring what it could be and then prioritize it. I don't like seeing, and I think that comes from, being rejected an awful lot when I was at the Black Chamber. Like, I was rejected so much, I don't even know why I stayed in that job for 10 years. But I think it taught me to be resilient, and it taught me never to give up. But it also taught me that, because some of my greatest moments were done because I met people that I least expected. Like, I gave my time to people I didn't expect would, have a profound effect on something I was trying to do, and they did. And it was like, man, you just never know. You cannot discount anybody. I don't care how small they are or how big they are. Everybody is going to come to the table with something. And so I just look at every person I meet as someone of value. And if you feel like you have something that I should hear, then I want to hear it. Because it's important to you, and that's important to me.
I always tell people I've had a lot of amazing jobs. The most influential job I ever had was telemarketing because of the rejection. Just the constant rejection.
I hated telemarketing.
It was terrible, but it instills this, I think, resilience and grit of, it's never going to be this bad.
Yeah.
But it, just that never give up kind of attitude, and you were surrounded by people that had that same kind of spirit, that same kind of.
But it also teaches you how to be creative.
Oh yeah.
And to be resourceful yourself. Because I remember when there were days when we didn't have money. I mean, like, I didn't have a pot to waste in or a window to throw it out of. But yet I found a resourceful way to do things. It taught me how to think outside the box,
Right.
right? And I could never be complacent. I didn't have time to be, nor did I have the resources to be complacent.
Right.
And those are the greatest lessons of all.
We all see politicians that seem to always be campaigning. How do you see the difference between leading and campaigning, and what are your views on kind of your role now that you're in office? You'll be up for re-election. There'll be,
Yeah.
there'll be an end to the term at some point in time. What are your thoughts on this idea of
If
always
I
campaigning?
lead the right way, I don't have to campaign. Because the leading is part of the campaign. Because I'm following through on what I campaigned on. And so if I follow through on what I campaigned on, and I'm doing that through my leadership, then I don't have to campaign. Because my work will prove itself. And the campaigning shouldn't be as difficult. That's what I'm focused on right now. Don't focus on the campaigning. Because I've had people say, you're always going to be campaigning. And I'm like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. If I do my job, I do it right. All I have to do is satisfy the majority of the vote. If I do that and I do it well, then the campaign won't be as hard. And I don't have to buckle down them last 2 years to prove,
Right.
that I did what I said I was going to do. I should be showing that month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year. And because I'm results driven, you need to see my results because that's what I expect from myself. What have I accomplished this month? I just told my team that we need to be documenting as we go what we're accomplishing because what I don't want to feel like is I'm a hamster in a wheel and I'm just, rolling around and I can't see the impact of the work.
Yeah, don't get caught up in the process.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to that end, process, rules, those types of things, it doesn't have to be something related to government. What is the one rule, process, or system that you would redesign from scratch if you had the ability?
My closet.
All right, now you have to say more. All right.
My closet. Poor closet. I just take my clothes off and throw it in there. And I have enough clothes. I could probably go, this is horrible to say, don't y'all judge me. I could probably go 3 months
Without having to worry about it?
without doing laundry.
All right, wow. All right. Those weren't judging
Y'all
laughter.
Y'all
Yeah.
get it? That's how many pairs of underwear I have.
All
No
right.
lie.
Closet redesign.
What's said here stays here, everybody. No.
Never mind the cameras. Never mind the
Never mind
cameras.
the cameras.
How about on the job front? What's the rule or the system or rule you would redesign from scratch if you had the ability to right now?
The protocols for the office of the mayor. I walked in and former Mayor Tyrone Garner did an excellent job of transitioning me into the role. And while there were some documents that helped us understand, what the mayor events are, the board of commissions they have to appoint and all that, there really wasn't, and he didn't get it either, an outline of what the protocols are and how the office of the mayor should be run. I think there's a hint of it, but we're starting over from scratch and we're building our own right now.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah, that we don't have it or that we have to start over from scratch, yes, I do. Because I should not have to take time to do that.
Does it give you some white space though, to maybe?
Absolutely does. And to be creative with it and to really set the tone. Absolutely, to set the tone. That's probably the most important thing because I don't want somebody to come in and have to deal with what I have to deal with. Because you have to understand, I'm not even installed, and I'm dealing with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah,
And to not
we all saw
have
that
my-
go down,
And to
yeah.
not have a playbook for me as mayor, okay, when it comes to this kind of stuff, what do I do? You know, that's a lot. So I had to rely on my experience and my diplomacy just when I was dealing with things in other positions. You know, as a former chamber leader, you know, having been in the mayor's office as deputy chief of staff, even though I was over neighborhood and small business development, I was only in there for 18 months, right? And I wasn't in it as the mayor, so I saw it differently. And in the executive meetings, I wasn't in those, the chief of staff was. So, yeah.
That's an interesting first day on the job.
Isn't that an interesting first day on the job? Woo, but I handled it like a pro. Yes.
So we all know that history is the ultimate judge of our leaders, not the press or even not near-term public opinion. As history looks back on this chapter of Kansas City, Kansas, 5 years from now or 9 years from now, we won't split hairs on that one yet. What do you hope people say changed because of the way you lead?
That was a game changer. That I was a quarterback that came in and wasn't afraid to pass the ball. And when I needed to carry the ball, I wasn't afraid to do it. That I came in with an enthusiasm and a team player spirit that helped change the culture and the mindset of, okay, let's put the past behind us. Let's put the sins of our forefathers, you know, on the back burner, actually take it off the burner and throw it in the trash and move forward. That I had the resilience and the spirit of true advocacy that changed the game and that built new bridges that were never formed before.
Hear, hear. Yeah. It's an interesting time in the region to, you were talking about your first day on the job and the challenge that you were faced with. Creates an interesting tension in the region from a regionalism perspective. What are your views on regionalism and having operated in Wyandotte for a short period of time and us bridging the gap and trying to bring things there? There's a lot of, are you from the dot? You're not from the community. What are your views on kind of regionalism, the importance of regionalism, the importance of the assets that we have across the region?
It's very important because I believe we haven't been at the table regionally, not to the degree we should. Because if we were, I don't think we would be an afterthought. I hear people all the time talk about how, everything is greater KC, or regional, but yet the primary focus is Kansas City, Missouri. Well, y'all can't blame Kansas City, Missouri for being that way if you wasn't there, if you didn't show up. So I don't really focus on what we're not when it comes to regionalism. I think regionalism is very important, and I think that the region needs to know we are here, especially with me at the lead, and I'm here to stay, and you're gonna know I'm in the room. It is so important that we work collaboratively within the region. What I don't think the region does a very good job is whoever the heck the region is.
Right.
Because I've always struggled, who really is the region?
All of us, right?
We're all that, but we're only that if we're truly working together. And so I'm really going to push the envelope. If we're really in this together, then where's Wyandotte County? And if we're not there and you don't think we should be there, then how do I change it? Because I want to change it. Help me fix it. But regionalism only works if we're truly collaborating and working together. And I don't think we really have been. I think it's been one-sided, but that's going to change.
Right. You know, I don't even want to say the word that comes to mind in this conversation is refreshing. I mean, it really is in so many ways.
So glad.
In so many ways. Christal, Mayor Watson, thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you for making yourself available and accessible to the people of the region and to the community here. It's an honor to sit down and have this conversation with you. I would love to, as we get towards the back half of this first term of your mayoral life, if we could sit down again and maybe talk about all the progress and all the things that have,
I can't
those
wait
month-over-month
until we
list
talk
of
about the
accomplishments that you've
Yes.
had. So can I get you to say you're going to come back at some point in time and do this again?
I will be back.
Or maybe next time Keystone Sessions is over in the dot and we sit down and have that
You
conversation?
better come over here and do some Keystone Sessions in the dot.
Fantastic. We're on our
I
way.
love what you guys are doing. I want to see the same thing in Wyandotte County. So let's have those conversations and do it.
We're on our way.
All right, let's do it.
Fantastic, everybody. Mayor Christal Watson.
Thank you, everybody.